Have we covered all the usual questions at least? We got techniques down.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm glad I just got to ask all my stupid questions because that made me really happy to talk to somebody about this. To bring the idiot that doesn't know anything about anything on the show, be like, "Ooh, you're good with video games. Let me ask you all."
Thank you, everybody, for joining us again for Pixels After Dark. I'm one of your hosts, Joe. With me tonight, as always, is Ruby, PxlatedTraveler. And our guests with us tonight are, well, actually, let's go with our guest host, Tyler. Just to announce real quick, Tyler and his wife just welcomed their new little baby boy. So he's off tonight, taking care of the family. And we wish him and the family, good health and fortune, and can't wait to see some baby pictures because I'm a sucker for baby pictures. Congratulations, Tyler.
Congratulations, dude.
With us tonight in his place is our guest host, and he's been a guest of the podcast before. He's been on a couple times. You were on for just as a guest, and then for one of the specials too.
I just popped in, yep.
Yeah, he just popped right in, and you've been in and out of the community, and you're just an amazing person. You're a podcaster yourself, Mr. JHoward, a.k.a. Salty Cat.
I am
welcome,
Salty Cat. Hi, welcome back. I'm glad to be back. I just kicked Tyler out. I was just like, I'm going to take this tonight, Tyler.
Well, we weren't going to say that right off the bat.
I talked to Tyler earlier, and I told him I would keep his seat warm for him. It's fine.
Aww.
Oh, okay. I'm sure he feels, he probably was like, oh, good. At least it'll be a warm seat.
He's got enough to worry about. So
You're absolutely right. And with us tonight, we're welcoming for the first time, and it's been so cool chatting with him so far, the one and only Ash Lyons from Gearbox. And he is such an accomplished artist. You're a senior visual FX artist.
Yeah, senior effects.
Nice.
Oh, man. Thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with us tonight. It means a lot to all of us, and it's such an honor and, great opportunity to chat with you. It's been so much fun so far.
Oh, thanks, man. It's been pretty fun on this end too.
Just listening to us ramble for the last hour, it's been real fun.
Yeah. You guys are cool.
We try to be laid back, pop the collar. No, but we'll just dive right into it. Well, we've been chatting for a little bit right now. Ruby, if I'll keep it in here, but Ruby literally jumped right in. It's like, I have questions for you. Let me get the book. And then she started going. It was awesome. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right. So, like I said, like you guys said earlier, I am a senior VFX artist at Gearbox. I was hired. I've been at Gearbox almost 6 years now. So when they hired me on, it was like the tail end of the pre-sequel. So actually, I got a couple effects in on that game, which was kind of cool because it was really like my first dip into the AAA waters. Because before that, I was working on the Neverwinter MMO for a couple of years. And that was like my actual first game development gig. And so coming in and working on the pre-sequel kind of let me see how it actually was working with a AAA game. And then after that, we moved on into Battleborn. That was like my real very first full development cycle game. And that was like the big one for me, and after that, we had Borderlands 3, which obviously we just finished. So that's kind of my game dev history. But beforehand, before I got into game development, I was working as a kind of like a visual effects artist at an animation / modeling studio in Chicago. When I graduated college. And I was there for about 4 years, and that's kind of where I cut my chops in the 3D world, kind of getting my feet wet with figuring out kind of what it was like to be in a professional environment, having deadlines and things like that. But after like 4 years, that got boring, so I had to move on.
Did you go to UIC?
No, I went to my undergrad was at VCU.
Okay.
Virginia Commonwealth, and then I went to a grad school in Florida to learn visual effects called Digital Media Arts, which is now, I believe, Lynn University. Like they got bought out, so now they're Lynn University. Mm-hmm. So I got my degree there, and then that's when I got hired into the professional world.
At least you're one of the people that can say that you were able to use your degree for something.
Yeah,
I can't say that.
It's funny though, because like when I was at VCU, I was in the sculpture program, so like I was like a legit gallery artist out there modeling with like plaster and clay and metal and things like that. But then once I finished college, I was like, I got nothing. I was like, what? I don't know what to do with this. I have a sculpture degree. Like, all right, what am I going to do? Like, go build something in a gallery and be broke for the rest of my life? I was like, I don't know what to do. So that's why I decided just to go back to school as like a way to postpone adulthood, I guess.
Yeah. I got a question. How would you compare the game dev process in a AAA versus a smaller studio, or even working on an MMO?
It's pretty similar as far as like game, like the smaller scale versus the triple scale or the AAA scale. But working on the MMO, it was more. I had to create more faster. Like I had to create more effects quicker, basically. So there would be. I would get a task like that morning, and I'm like, hey, we need 5 effects for this, for your mage character by like the end of day. So you'd have to kind of crank those out quicker because it was a live service, the way things are constantly updating. So that's kind of how that would go. But as far as with the way it works now is I'll work on an effect for almost 6-7 months, maybe a year, just to, like before it's actually finalized and put out into the world.
What I was going to ask is, because I'm like the village idiot when it comes to everything that has to do with gaming or art. So okay, so as a VFX, as a visual effects person, so what if, like, as a dumbed down version for somebody like me, what would you say you do? Like, if I could look at a game and be like, oh, I did that.
I would say,
it's not as easy to think about it, is it?
Yeah, it's a dumbed down version. I would say, like, I blow stuff up.
There you go.
Yeah, like anything. Between like the VFX artist and maybe like the tech artist, between us, whenever you see something really cool in a video game, there's a pretty good chance an effects artist did it.
Sure. So, but it's not environmental art.
Some of it's environmental. Sure. Like you'll see like random fires on the sidewalk or something. Even something as small as like leaves blowing in the wind.
Okay.
An effects artist or a tech artist might have done that. A tree growing somewhere, a tree's waving back and forth. Effects or tech artists might have done that. It varies.
Sure.
There's a wide spectrum of things to do.
Yeah, I'm always on like the lowest common denominator level of people. Like it sounds cool what you do, but unless you can explain it to me in idiot terms, I don't understand.
No, it's understandable. I mean, sometimes I have a problem. Like I said, I have a problem kind of sometimes explaining it to, like, what do you do? I make flaming swords and blow stuff up.
I don't think a lot of people actually understand how many people it takes to make a video game. Like, I mean, the studios are huge. I mean, you see, people like Bungie, Gearbox, anybody. I mean, the studios are enormous, and every little bit has a part in it somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think one of the causes of that is because you have so many independent studios coming out with, like 2 or 3 people. They're like, oh, hey, we made a video game for, $50,000. And then you get like your average gamer is like, well, how come they can do it? And this other game costs $60 million. And it's like, well, it's different levels,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Seems like it's a broad term. Like you were mentioning, it can range from environmental animation, like a tree swaying and leaves, particles, but it could also be a flaming sword.
Yeah.
Are there specializations? Are there multiple VFX artists and you guys specialize in different things?
Not so much specialized, but at our studio we have 1, 2, 3, 7 or 8 off the top of my head. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think about 7 effects artists. I'm probably getting that number wrong. Yeah, because I don't want to sit here and waste time just trying to mentally count, but yeah, I would say about 7 or 8 effects artists like in our own little office. So we don't exactly have like a specialized like one of us isn't like the water guy.
I was gonna say one of you is not the fire guy, and one.
Yeah, it's like oh, you're not the he's like, you're not the fire guy, you're not the water guy. No, but one of the things we did do for at least for Borderlands 3 is we did break down the characters to one person gets a certain character, and that's their character for the development time. Like for example, I worked on Zane, so all of Zane's effects are me, and some of like the Skags and like the Psychos. So like those were assigned to me, and then we have another effects artist who would work on Amara, and like we had a character, like we had a guy that was working on Moe's. So it's like each character would get their own artist to just be there, and which was great because that actually differentiated and gave us a lot of variation within the effects. It wasn't just one cohesive, like everything looked the same. It was like you'd have certain differences between between the characters.
I was just about to ask if there was anything that kept the style together so that no one deviated and it just looked like it all belonged. Baby!
Little man. Yeah. See? That's how you know this is live.
Yeah. Mine's just a little bit younger.
I guess he wants to sit here.
Man, this is real life. We all understand it, believe us.
Mom?
No, I don't want him to take my mom's shut away.
Okay. Sorry about that.
I don't want him to take the tablet away.
We all got kids, man. We know.
Yeah. What was the question?
Yeah. I was gonna ask, but you did sort of answer it. How the studio keeps control over the art style so that it doesn't deviate between different artists.
Oh, we have a style guide that we all basically, that's our guide essentially. But one of the cool things about Gearbox is that we aren't. Yeah, let's turn that down, buddy. We don't exactly have anyone really like standing over our shoulder saying it must be like this. It has to be like this. So our at least with our team, we're very free to kind of work on. If we think it looks cool, 9 times out of 10, it'll get approved. Like no one's going to tell us don't do it like that. That's ugly. We get a lot of autonomy to kind of just make cool stuff, which is really cool, and it's fun because it gives you freedom to just kind of go out and experiment and just kind of do whatever you think is fun. You know?
Oh, that's extremely healthy because you're learning as well, and when you're learning, you feel like you're growing as an artist, which makes you want to keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, the opportunity to be creative.
Right. It's like you're not feeling hindered or like stopped, or it's like, hey, you can't do it like that. It has to look like this, and it's like, oh, man, I can't. Like I'm stifled. You're blocking my creativity here.
Yeah, like comparing that kind of process to, let's say, what you were doing with the MMO, just cranking out stuff real fast. That must have been draining.
Yeah, it gets to the point where you do hit a wall, like a creative wall, and it's very like I guess like creative block, and you just get to the point you're like, oh, I can't make another effect.
And the
Now we have
baby.
dog, we have wife. That's cool.
And the wife.
Yeah, that's my wife.
Real life, man, always comes first.
Yeah.
And your other pupper, your fluffy
You
baby.
can edit this out, right?
It's staying. No.
Joe, no. Joe's a wizard.
It's sweet.
Yeah. And I got my dog here too. Hi dog. Okay.
It just shows.
My dog's in here with me.
It just
He's
shows
in
that you
there
guys
every
are
time.
real people too, right? So when they yell
Yeah.
at game devs and all that stuff, you're like, look, they're real people. They really are.
Yep, 100%.
I kicked my cat out though. She
One
turns
thing-
on my computer.
One thing I always wonder too, just on a generic sense too, is do you guys actually enjoy playing the games you guys play? Like, do you play Borderlands?
Oh yeah. It's actually almost it's like one of the things that at the end of development, it's really like, all right, you need to play this game, find the bugs, and if you're at the point where you're going, I don't want to play this game, I'm bored. You're not gonna be engaged in it, and you're not.
I'm not talking about work. I'm talking about at home, like you're just chilling. You're like, I'm gonna play Borderlands.
Oh yeah. Well,
Really?
that's
Okay.
that's what I was kind of getting into. It's like at the end when development's over and it's okay, basically find the bugs. It's like we'll sit there and play it, obviously for work, but at the same time, it's like I'll come home and then I'll keep playing it.
And you know there's that little bit of you that's like looking at the stuff, me like,
Oh, yeah,
I
it's-
made this, I did this.
Yeah, you're like, oh man, this is great. Or then again, it's also this, like sometimes looking at something, I'm like, I could have done better.
Yeah. Well, you're always going to be your harshest critic, no matter
Yeah.
what. I think the best thing about it would be able to come home and play video games and be like, honey, I'm working. I don't want to hear about me not playing video games. I'm working.
Like I'm doing research.
It's R&D. You wouldn't understand. Don't worry about it.
It's such a large game, and it took so many people to make it. You've only really contributed to such a portion that when you see the whole thing put together, that must be an experience.
Oh yeah, it doesn't. It's funny because at the beginning of development, you're kind of almost compartmentalized, and you get a task, you make it, and then maybe you see it a couple weeks later, and then once everything starts to come together, like the art starts landing, and the level design starts landing, and the actual voice actors come in, and you hear the actual voices of the characters, not like the temp VO, and then you actually see everything coming together and landing, and you're like, oh my god, we have a game. It works.
Well, I was going to say that too, because you said you came in during the pre-sequel.
Yes.
So you got to see Borderlands 3 as a whole. Like, you didn't come in halfway through it. I mean, you saw it from concept to the end.
Yeah.
That's got to be, because I mean, it was one of the biggest games of, the end of the decade. I mean, it was ridiculously big. So that had to be very self-fulfilling.
Dude, it was. I still get goosebumps when I see that our launch trailer.
Sure.
Because it's like it was my first like big AAA game to be a part of, and once you're,
it's a hell of a trial by fire. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, and it's such a feeling to be part of this giant community of just like cosplayers and gamers and streamers and people that are like will follow you on Twitter because you worked on their favorite character and they're asking you questions. And you're like, oh my god, this is a real thing. Mm-hmm. This is nuts. And I'm just a regular person, and there's like people asking me, hey, how'd you do this? I'm like,
stuff. Things.
I'm just a dude with a dog and a kid, and
yeah, like my guy, like oh my dog, yeah, my son's watching this tablet under my desk because he doesn't want to go to bed.
Because he doesn't want to go to bed.
Wait, what time zone are you in? It's 8 o'clock here. What time?
Yeah, he asked you what time zone you're in.
Yeah, I'm Central, so I'm 10 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Central. Power to the Centrals.
So, with going along that, building off of that, with people, reaching out to you and how just feeling you get from that, like what motivates you to create? Especially in a studio setting where you have the opportunity to create. Like, And people like attach themselves to characters through, different franchises and everything, like Zane, there's that person, like I seen a cosplay over the summertime or this past year of somebody dressed up as Zane, like literally looks like he just walked out of the game, like asking questions.
I saw that.
It's crazy, wasn't it?
Like the cosplay community is nuts. Like I look at some of that, I'm going, how did you do that? That's what?
It's true. I mean, some of the best cosplays I've seen this year were actually from the Borderlands franchise, just because of how it's inked and everything. Just the detail that they put into it. It's just
not cell shaded.
It's not cell shaded.
Not cell shaded
by hand. No.
Learned.
But no. What motivates you to create?
One of the big motivators, at least for myself, is just being around all the other effects artists in my office, because like I work with some amazingly talented people, and when I see what they're doing, and I'm like, I'll look at it and go, oh my god, that's awesome, and I'll look at myself and go, I need to be at that level all the time, and I'm sure that. Like they're probably thinking the same thing. Like, oh my god, that person over there, they're awesome. I must be at their level. So it's like we're always working off of each other, and it's like, and the fact that we're all really friendly with each other. Like we're a team. Like there's no like competition of like I need to be better than you. There's none of that. It's oh my god, you're awesome. I want to be at your level. And I think that's for me that's that's a great motivator in itself, is just to make cool stuff.
Yeah, for real. I mean, that's a great motivator right there, to just have that around you.
Yeah.
All the time. I mean, and that's inspiring in its own.
Oh yeah. I mean, just working with great people in itself it's like I'll come into work and I'll see what the person sitting next to me is making. And it's like, oh my god, how'd you do that? And then we'll work off of each other and say, okay, hey, you just made something cool. How'd you do that? Because I'm working on something over here, and what you just did could help me with the problem that I'm having. So like we'll always help each other with stuff like that. Like I said, there's no competition. Like we're all on the same team trying to up our own levels.
Gotcha. That's awesome.
That's cool though, because then you don't have anybody, rubbing elbows together and everything, and you're not stepping on each other's toes or whatever. And that's got to be a really cool thing, that it's a team, especially since like you said before, there's so many little groups of people, and if you have, your VFX team or whatever, but you're all actually working together and not, typical small office politics where everybody's trying to one up each other and everything. So that's really cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
I'm trying to find the right word. Oh, sorry.
Do you hear my kid's tablet at all? Just wondering. Okay.
Not really. You good, man?
So
right.
I know for a fact that Ruby and I are both like really into this kind of stuff. But so what kind of programs do you use?
Okay, so off the top of my head, I'll use 3ds Max. It's kind of like my main focus for like 3D stuff. I have Unreal 4 is gaming wise, and I've got Substance Designer, Photoshop, Houdini for all my simulation stuff, After Effects for when I need to make flipbooks, put things together for that. That's it. As far as
I mean, that's all. I only got like 20 programs that I use, but that's it.
Yeah.
Question: do different VFX artists in your studio utilize different programs? Like you just mentioned your 3ds, but do some use, let's say, Blender or Maya instead?
We do have in our studio we do have Maya, but we don't really use it. As far as the effects team, we're not big Maya users, but there are artists in our studio that do use Maya. For as far as with effects, it's we're mostly just 3ds Max and and a lot of Houdini now, not so much for modeling or things like that, like mostly like simulations. We also utilize fume effects on occasion for some simulations. It's really all about what you feel comfortable with using.
Gotcha. So it's not limited. They don't limit you like, hey, you can only use this.
Yeah, we've been able to kind of like amass a nice the word escapes me, but like this stable of software that that we have access to, which is nice.
That is awesome.
It's true. That's too much. I wouldn't be able to handle all those programs. So I'd be asking Ruby every 5 minutes, like, Ruby, what do I do with this stuff? I don't even understand it anymore.
Well, like the funny thing about when you're an effects artist, it's there's new software coming out like all the time, and like as soon as you learn one, another piece of software comes out, and it's like, hey, here's the new thing to learn. You're like, oh man, I gotta learn this. Because the person like behind you, they'll know it. Mm-hmm. So if you ever go out looking for a job, it's someone's be like, hey, do you know Houdini? And you're like, no, I haven't learned that yet. It's like, well, that guy does, so we're just gonna hire him. It's like, yeah, but Houdini came out 3 months ago.
I would also assume you guys got to have some pretty massive hardware just to be able to render all that stuff, eh?
Yeah, they are. I don't know what's in them exactly, but I know that they're fast.
Yeah.
That's what they do in the basement.
Well, I mean, a typical user of After Effects or whatever, I mean, you can render video and render effects and all that stuff, but I mean, unless you have a decent machine even to do that, it'll take you, it takes time. But I mean, something massive like what you guys are doing, 3D modeling and stuff like that, I would assume that the hardware and the machines that you're using are probably something fantastic.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to deal with like getting a good machine in. A lot of it has to do with like just rendering our simulations, like out of Houdini, like Houdini simulations. If once you render something, you don't want to sit around and wait for 20 hours for it to finish. You need that. You want to get it out as fast as possible.
Yeah, render farms.
We don't. I set up a machine in an extra machine like that sits next to me because I do a lot of rendering specifically. So I was able to talk to IT. It was like, hey, can I have an extra machine to just kind of like take and make render my stuff so I can still work? Well, this machine over here is rendering. So it's not really a render farm. It's just like, I'm just going to put my stuff over here and press render and then go back to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure they were just like, here, take this one.
We have a couple in the back we can let you have.
Sign this form.
Actually, I think it's like the old computer that I used before I got my upgrade. So.
Here, you can have this one back.
Yeah.
So I would assume too that you were you big into like video gaming before you did this, or was just kind of just part of the job?
I was more of a casual gamer.
Sure.
Like I wouldn't say like I was like hardcore or anything like that. I would game a couple hours a week. Not so much now that I have family, kids. I get maybe like an hour a day.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like if you're going into college for visual effects, I mean, I would assume is this very specialized for gaming, or is this kind of like you could do commercials or you could do movies or whatever,
Well, it's like with my degree was in just visual effects, but we were focusing mostly during school. We were focusing mostly on like pre-rendered stuff, so things for like commercials or movies, things like that. So that's kind of what I was learning. And then once I kind of realized how unstable, I guess, the VFX industry the VFX industry itself is kind of unstable. It's once you find a good position, you hold on to it as tightly as possible, But as far as with a lot of movies, like studios will shut down a lot, and like once the production is over, it's like, oh, the studio shut down, and then now I got to move to Canada or I got to move to somewhere in Europe, and I wasn't really interested in that. I wanted to find something stable, and so with gaming, a lot of those skills do transfer over, but you also have to learn a new skill set. So there's a small Venn diagram, like it's a small cross section of the skills that will transfer over. But once you get into gaming, there's like a lot of new skills that you need to learn.
Sure.
I got an audience question, by the way, if you don't mind. So, also for my personal experience, when we hire someone for a role, like let's say VFX, any degree that's related is usually fine. But let's say in a studio like yours, like a AAA, does it help to specifically have a degree in VFX to get hired?
It definitely does help, but I mean a lot of the effects artists that are in that I work with now. I mean, a lot of them didn't start out as effects artists. Like we have one guy, he started out in QA and moved into effects artist, moved into an effect artist position. And he's fantastic. We have another guy. He just went to school and I think he has a general degree. Which is one of the things I really like about effects artists, because you don't need to really be an artist. You can just kind of have the eye for it. You can be a technical person and just know how to work the software and make cool stuff and make stuff look good. Versus you can also be an artist and bring in that artistic angle of like knowing color theory and knowing what works and knowing timing and things like that. So, I mean, you can come from the effects artist takes the whole spectrum of people. You can have a science major, science background, move in, artistic background, move in. It's pretty generous as far as that's concerned.
Right on.
That makes sense.
Oh, that's fun. It's a spectrum.
I think I'm more surprised at the fact for how big a game like Borderlands is that you only have 7 VFX artists. I mean, that's a big game.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just. Well, we also have. We have a studio in Quebec with a couple of effects artists there too, and they did a lot of stuff for like the vehicles and a lot of like level design stuff. So it wasn't just like the guys and the guys and girls in Texas. There was another studio, or there is another studio in.
Sure.
I think there's like maybe 3 or 4 of those guys up there.
It's amazing. Like I said, I love the game personally. I mean, I've been a fan of Borderlands forever. I love what you guys do. I mean, they're beautiful games. And it's funny, like any kind of artist, all of us and whoever here, it's funny because like we can go and play a game and appreciate it for what it is. Everyone just wants like, I want to go and get this gun and do this, and I don't care about anything else. But like those of us who play it, like we'll go into a game like Borderlands or Destiny or whatever. We'll go into a game and we'll really appreciate the environment, like I said, the effects, just the aesthetics of the game, how it looks, how it feels, and everything. And I always wondered about that too for somebody who works in a studio like yours. Is like, I'm sure you guys feel the same way, and that's where you guys feel your appreciation is when people say like, "Oh my God, this is a beautiful game. The graphics are gorgeous," and you go past all the people just whining about the sandboxes and whatever else, and and the people that actually appreciate it for the work you guys do in that game. That's got to be an amazing feeling.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to find like when someone like lets you know like online, hey, this was cool. I love when you did this, or this aspect. It's like it makes you feel like, oh, I'm doing something. It makes you feel good.
Sure.
It's always nice to be recognized for your accomplishments.
That's true.
I got a personal question for you.
Okay.
Do you have
the fangirl and Ruby's coming out?
Do you have personal preference for working on specific things? Like, do you prefer working with particles, or do you prefer working, let's say, with smoke or fiery swords?
I really enjoy making explosions.
You blow stuff up.
That's one of my favorite things to do. Like if there's explosions in explosions and like liquid stuff. Explosions mostly because it's fun. Like you can just put a bunch of stuff into like put a bunch of particles into something, some smoke, some fire, and like blow it up, and like that's always fun. And I enjoy doing liquid stuff because I know that it's hard and I'm not great at it. So it's just one of those things that whenever I have a liquid effect that I want to do, I force myself to make it because I know it's not one of the things that I'm great at doing.
You know, going along that, and I've always wondered that with modern video gaming. Now, I could tell you about like old school video gaming with Nintendo and whatever else, but I'm assuming that anything that has to do with like, let's say liquid or fire, anything, smoke, anything like that, does it repeat? Or is it now, I mean, with technology we have nowadays, is the repetition of it so spread out that you can't even tell anymore? Because back in the day, you could watch a background in a Nintendo game and you could see it repeat itself every like 3 seconds.
Right. Yeah.
But nowadays, I'm assuming with like, you know, like a wind effect on grass or on trees or leaves and everything. I mean, is it repeating or is it kind of spread out more?
It is repeating, at least with the way that with the way that we do things in like in Unreal is that we have smoke sprites. And you might have a flip book of just I'll say like a 25, 36 frame flip book, like a 6x6 type of thing. And it just kind of a quick animation of smoke like moving. So it might like do that or something. And then once you have that flip book, you tile it like over and over again. So you just like put a bunch of them on the screen, and with all of the moving and different rotations and spinning or whatnot. It looks like a one giant cohesive like smoke
sure
cloud.
That's literally one thing I've always wanted to ask somebody. Then, because like I said, nowadays in video games are so the environments and just everything that's going on is so realistic now, and it's so everything is so there's so much more detail nowadays in video games, especially that, like I said, if it also depends. I mean, the player can react to effects too, can't they? Like they can change with their in the game. I would assume, like, if you walk through smoke or if you walk into water or whatever, it changes the dynamic of whatever you're doing, doesn't it?
You'll probably code it if you want.
Yeah, sometimes. I know. Hold on.
Yeah.
You want Ryan's tour review? Sorry, guys.
Just so you know,
hey.
Just while we're talking about Ryan, he is the second most highest paid YouTuber of 2019.
Yeah,
that
and
8-year-old kid made $26 million or $64 million.
What parent doesn't know about that YouTube channel?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know about the YouTube channel until I started seeing the toys at like Walmart. And it's like now my daughter, the youngest one, watches that, but she also watches like really weird stuff. I mean,
yeah.
It's
Sorry about that.
Mind.
No big deal, man.
We make my son famous.
A couple more years, start having them do toy reviews.
I know, man.
Albert in chat brought up a good point too. I mean, what happens when it comes to does Borderlands have like procedurally generated stuff too? Because I know there's certain games have that where the game is procedurally generated as you play.
Effects wise, no.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's all the same. Right, yeah. It's all effect stuff. Like it's all okay.
Lock the door. There it is.
Okay. All right, come on. You see, he's supposed to be asleep.
Like I said, man, real life, we all know it.
Dude, you're killing me. Usually he's asleep by now, but I guess since he's not at school until like next week.
You got to be loving it.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Let him go to town.
Okay. Yeah, that's the joys of being a parent, right?
Oh yeah, man.
You gotta like just take the chaos and go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
If you see my screen go blank all of a sudden, you see me run out of here, it's because my daughter woke up and my wife's not home. My wife works third shift, so Daddy duty calls. I gotta go.
You got a cam?
I've been there. I've been there with like when I'm teaching, because like I also teach at a community college. I teach effects at a community college, and like
nice
is online. So like when I'm recording, my son might run in, and all of a sudden it's like, Dad, I'm like, oh, okay, hold on. And pause.
So that's really cool too. So is that like something that when in your spare time you teach at a community college?
Yeah. It's so I have one class that's actually on campus, and I I do that once a week, and then I have another class that's online. So I'll I'll do some videos and upload them, and then I have the students basically just like emailing me their work and things like that, and setting and then grading and all that. It's fun and it's good. It helps me out because I get to keep skills fresh and like try out new things and kind of like find new problems, I would say.
True.
Yeah.
Now, keeping it in that, one thing that we do like to ask is, being in a student teacher, atmosphere, what are some tools and techniques that, you could share for, maybe an upcoming...
I was saying, boy, you're about to get shot in the back of the head with that gun.
I wasn't looking at the time.
I was waiting for it. Never mind. Go ahead.
Is it a Nerf gun?
He's got a Nerf gun, and he was pulling the cock in it back, and I was like, oh, he's gonna get it right in the back of the head.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it.
I tell you what. Oh God, it's coming. I can tell, and it's the hard rubber end ones too, isn't it?
Yeah.
He can hear us. So now you're in trouble just because he can hear us talking.
He had a smile on his face, and it looked pretty sinister. He's like, "Don't worry, Dad. I'll get you.
Sit under here, please.
Don't worry, Ash. We got your back."
Yep.
Okay. You can see
we're watching for you. Don't worry. We'll warn you if he points it at your head.
Jay's watching for it. He's like, "Oh, dude, you're about to get it."
Oh, my daughter's got one of those, and I know what it feels like to get hit by one.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. If my 11-year-old draws attention to her closet, she has a giant like shopping bag, like the reusable ones, like the ones you get from like the department stores, the big ones, filled with Nerf guns. Mm-hmm. And the 3-year-old will come downstairs with one of the medium-sized ones fully loaded out and hold it 2 hands. And then it's coming, and then she'll shoot it from across the room. And she'll be like over by like the dining room with like the French doors, and she'll just be like peeking out, and then she'll hold 2 hands up and just ping. Drives my wife insane. I think it's fun having Nerf wars though.
Albert had another good question too, because we were talking before about the fact that the game's not cell shaded; it's hand drawn. Are the smoke and stuff like that? Is it simulated in Houdini and then rendered as spreadsheets, or is that all hand drawn as well?
Oh, that's simulated in Houdini.
Okay,
and then we make spreadsheets from that.
So not everything is hand drawn.
not everything. I would not want to hand draw smoke.
But you're not cell shading smoke though.
No, that's difficult. I mean, we can. If I wanted to, I could go into like After Effects and try to make that effect up. But I don't want to go into that headache.
No. Well, there's different effects for like each gun and stuff too, isn't there? I mean. Yeah,
that's.
Man, I wouldn't even want to know how much you guys actually put into that.
So like the muzzle flashes and things like that, Photoshop. We go into Photoshop and make those muzzle flashes, or like Substance Designer is a really good. Substance Designer is a really good piece of software for creating assets like that. So it's so not everything is simulated. A lot of it is hand drawn too.
Ruby, we need some more plugins for our Photoshop. In other words,
expensive.
Yeah.
Now, working with everything, how do you work with your time management between home, work, teaching, your hobbies?
He obviously brings it right here with him. I mean, the kids running around with a Nerf gun, and
you do it all, Dad.
I have very little time. Yeah, I don't have much time for myself anymore, but I don't sleep basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, so luckily though, at Gearbox we are allowed to work from home.
Oh, that's so nice.
So yeah, so I will get into the office and like I'll leave. I'll put in like 9 to 5 typically, but my wife works nights, like 3 days a week. So there are times where like I might have to come home early, just so she can go to work and I can be home with the kids. So and then once they're in bed, it's usually they're in bed at like 8 or 9. So like after that I get a couple hours. So it's like log back into work, kind of finish my day off there. And if I have any extra time at the end of the night, I might either watch a movie on Netflix or catch what is on TV for like an hour or so. Maybe play a game or two.
What is like the last 3 months before release like though? I mean, I'm sure there was a good crunch that you guys hit.
It gets pretty hectic. I mean, we try not to crunch at Gearbox. It's not that it doesn't happen.
It's probably not healthy though.
Yeah, it's not healthy. And crunching isn't fun at all. And I mean, regardless of what you're working on, but we do try not to crunch a Gearbox, but it does. People do put in extra hours. I would say it's not mandatory. Like they don't force it on us, which is great. I mean, no one wants to be forced to work 20 hours a week, or 20 hours a day. But like I said, we are allowed to work from home. So if it comes to the point where it's like, oh man, I have to go home, but I'm not done with what I need to do. Like I said, I can log in and just kind of work until I feel like I'm done.
I assume too that nowadays it's probably so much different nowadays with modern video gaming because there's DLCs, there's seasons, there's all these different things now. So you guys, I mean, are constantly updating the game, I would assume.
Yeah.
Or there's going to be like every couple of months you're going to get a DLC or whatever. Back in the day it was like they would release a game and then you wouldn't have anything to do until the next release of a game. Yeah. But nowadays one big game will have 5 years worth of content.
Yeah, and that's nice though, because I mean, and stuff like that does keep people working.
I would say that's job security.
Yeah, it's like, okay, now all right, we finished the main game. Now let's add some extra content, because I mean, at the end of the day, because like when typical development for a game, it's like as an effects artist, it's like us in audio, or like the last ones to be in the game basically, and like QA, looking for bugs. But like as far as like development goes, it's like us in audio pretty much. But once the character artists and like the modelers and like all those guys, like once they're all done, like they need something to do, so it's and they might be finished like months before the game is done, or like actually like shipped out to for certain. This is pretty much with like any studio.
Oh sure.
So, yeah, it's like, so they need something to do, so it's like, hey, let's make some DLC, let's make some extra content. So like they're still working. It's not just like, okay, you're done, you're fired, or like we don't need you for 6 months. So
yeah, for sure.
Go find a new job. That's funny. They're right there, buddy. So yeah, so I mean, it's like, so just having that extra content is good for studio morale too. Plus, so it's like, hey, we just. We still have these people here.
How long was the base game of, like, say, Borderlands 3? How long was the base game in development for?
Let's see. We finished Battleborn about 2 years ago, I believe.
Okay.
So I think base game. I know, like, I was working on it. I can't say base game for sure, but I know, like, I was working on it for probably 2.5, 3 years.
Okay.
Because I mean, like once Battleborn ended, I just rolled right into working on Borderlands 3.
Sure. I'm glad you're answering all my idiot questions, because it's stuff I've always wondered about this side of things. I mean, I'm more of I'm an avid gamer. I love playing video games, and it's like I said, as an artist, I appreciate this side of things. I'm sure we all do too. Ruby and Joe do as well. Like we look at it through different lenses than everybody else does. It's absolutely fascinating, like the process of all this stuff. I mean, it really is.
Oh yeah, and it's funny when you like look back on something, you're like 3.5, 4, 5, however years ago, when I first started at Gearbox, where it's like, oh man, all right, so I started working on Borderlands 3, way back then, and it's like now we announced it in September or October, and it's like 3 years of silence, and you're looking back like, man, that was a long time, but at the same time, it didn't feel like a long time, like when you're done.
Sure.
Yeah.
Before I got to ask, I'm sorry, Jay.
I was going to say, I got to play it before. We got to play it at GC. Did you play it at GCX, Ruby?
I did.
We got to play it in last July before it was released. They had a small version of it there at GCX down in Florida. So we got to appreciate it early.
Oh, yes. And then I watched husband play it when he got his copy. Apparently he chose the worst character you could choose, but he thoroughly enjoyed it, I think, because he kept playing it, so... I wanted to ask you before I forget. You mentioned you work at home too. How do they help set up your system so that you're able to create renders and stuff with your computer, or is that self-funded?
Well, we can ask for help, and like they'll try to help us, but a lot of it's just kind of do it yourself. And then if you run into problems, ask IT, but no one's gonna like come to my house and like build my computer for me. But I mean, if I do run into issues, they will like I'll type up a Jira ticket like, hey, I'm having problems at home, and someone will say, hey, all right, we'll try this, things like that. So it's not just like you're on your own.
Like they'll let you borrow tools and stuff, hardware.
Not really. We do have like they'll if we buy something, we can ask for like a reimbursement. If it's like work related.
Okay, that's fair. What is like the minimum specs you should have to make work like what you do?
I don't know. I can tell you what my machine has.
On like a home computer?
Yeah. And well, in my home computer, I have I think a 16 core. i7.
Wow. I mean, that's all I got. It's just a 16 core super machine. That's fine.
No, wait, no. Maybe not 16. Hold on.
It's got 6 graphics cards in it.
I wish. Actually, it's no, sorry, 8.
Still.
Yeah, I have an 8-core machine with I think like 32 gigs of RAM, and pretty like I don't think I have a Titan in there, but I forgot it's a pretty expensive video card.
I bet it has to be.
Yeah, because I mean, pretty much it's because I needed to upgrade because like when I render stuff, my old computer was chugging along whenever I tried to render a simulation, and I was like, I need to speed this thing up.
3 days later, you could see the movement you made.
Right. It's like, oh man, this 16 frame animation is taking me days to render this. I need to be better.
Mm-hmm.
I need to update my system so bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a lot of times I like to upgrade my machine just because I get bored and I need to like tinker on something.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's a nice way to. That's a good hobby.
I'd break something.
For your other hobby.
If I opened that thing up right there, nope. It would never go back together the same way and would not upgrade anything.
Well, that's how I learned to build computers. I just kept I kept breaking my old machines.
Oh, so you're endorsing that I should open it up and break it. When you break it, Joe, you learn how to fix it really quick.
Yeah. Just make sure the electricity is off, because I have shocked, not myself, but I have burned out many video cards because I left them plugged in.
Ooh.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, big smile on his face. He's like, yep.
I know.
Yeah. Very awesome.
Have we covered all the usual questions at least? We got techniques down.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm glad I just got to ask all my stupid questions because that made me really happy to talk to somebody about this. Yeah, bring the idiot that doesn't know anything about anything on the show. Be like, "Ooh, you're good working video games. Let me ask you all the questions."
That's my job.
I know. I'm average cat today. No, like like I said, even Ruby, I know works in a lot of animations and stuff, and she does a lot of that stuff. I'm learning from Ruby how to do all this stuff, but to get somebody from another perspective of it as well from inside the industry, that's priceless.
Really my stuff's baby stuff compared to what he does. Like After Effects is like the furthest I really do as far as visual stuff, VFX.
True. It's neat stuff though. It's super interesting.
Yes.
It's definitely a fun little aspect of gaming because I think one of the great things about visual effects is that we always get to do this wide variety of stuff. Mm-hmm. It's not every day is not always the same.
Do you aspire to do anything else beyond this? If something opportunity came up for something,
that was going to be my next question.
Ha! Gotcha, Joe.
You beat me.
I don't know. Not really. I mean, if gaming ever just didn't work out for me, or just died tomorrow, I guess I would probably go into movies and just do visual effects for movies or commercials or something.
We were talking earlier about VR and stuff like that. Is that going to kind of change the game of VFX artists and stuff? Is that completely different?
It will have to change because with the way with visual effects for gaming, you're looking at a flat surface. So you're looking at basically like billboards or pixels, like cards that are just floating around the screen. When you go into VR, now that you're able to actually walk around the effect, when you have these cards, it's gonna break down when you start walking around it. So I don't know how visual effects will work for VR, but I know I'm pretty sure there's tech out there. Like I said, I don't know anything about visual effects in VR, but I know there is tech that will create like a 3D effect that you can walk around.
Sure.
But I don't know how it works, so that's way out of my wheelhouse. But things do have to change as far as getting effects into VR. Yeah, it's not
a whole new world for you guys.
Yeah, it's all new tech. It would be it's like I said, it's something I have it's way over there for me. Like it's not something I know anything about.
Well, it keeps moving where did it start with? There was something from Nintendo where you look through like a night vision goggles, like red.
That was the Game
what was
Gear
that called?
or they had it was part of the Game Boy. It was red. Everything was red.
Yep, it was red, but that
Virtual Boy. That's what it was called.
Virtual Boy. Thank you. It started with like that, and then it went to
your
like
retinas.
Oh my God, yeah, it was something else. It was not healthy. But it was a starting point, and it seems like it keeps evolving. The last, several years, VR has become to really.
That's another really good question.
Hit a turning point.
From somebody who works within the industry, we have the PS5 coming out. We have the new Xbox coming out. I mean, they tried with Stadia. We'll see how that goes. But even like with PC and stuff like that, it's exponentially growing. Yeah. But what's funny is how much farther can they push effects and graphics and everything before it's almost like, I play at almost 200 frames a second, when I play, and it's ridiculous looking, on my machine. But how much farther can they go with this stuff?
You'd be surprised, man. It's even. Hold on, Alex. Okay, go ask mommy. Like
that's the answer we all wanted to hear. Go ask mommy right there.
Like it even shocks me with like what they're coming out with nowadays. Like for example, I've been playing Death Stranding, and the effects in that game are amazing. And I'll look at that and go, how'd they do that? I want to know how they did that. And it's like, it stumps me. Like, even like there are other games, like the fact like I'll watch just a lot of like other games, like the Batman, like Arkham Knight. They had there was actually a, like if you play Arkham Knight on PC, there's like the smoke. You can actually interact with it.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at before, was that you can have character interaction with certain things too.
Like you have to have like your PC has to be like legit high level, like in order for it to like not basically fall apart when you try, like when you turn that on the game. But yeah, like stuff like that. Like I'll look at that and go, wow, that's awesome. Like I want to know how they did that. You know.
Well, maybe that's what you can aspire to. It's just constantly improving on the VFX front.
Oh yeah.
I always just wondered because, like, you know, whenever a new system comes out and stuff, you know, stuff comes out like that, you know, we can't imagine now what we're going to see next. You know, when we were playing PlayStation 3s and Xbox 360s, we had no idea what the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 4 was going to. Now we have the PS5. We have the new, that Xbox Tower thing that they have. They have the, you know, every couple of years they come out with a new graphics card set for PC gaming and stuff like that, where people can play this ridiculous, you know, FPS and just how, I mean, and what's funny is that all of that is based on the environment and what's going on around the game. So it's like, you know, I just wonder if your industry has to grow along with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Pretty much we do. I mean, like, and that's what kind of like what I was like harking back to what I was talking about earlier about whenever new software comes out and having to learn that. And so it's like the new software comes out and it's like, oh, hey, here's a new thing, learn it, or get left behind, you know.
Well, I mean, at least like what kind of what Ruby was talking about earlier too is like Borderlands seems to have a very specific art style. Whether we saw what the whole it's not cel shaded, I understand that, but they have, you know. So when Borderlands 4 comes out or Borderlands 5, it seems like they're going to keep that. The trend will be the same. Yeah, it'll just be nicer looking, I would assume.
Yeah. And well, I think one of the nice things about the Borderlands art style is that we can what am I trying to say? Since it's very cartoonish in nature, it does give us a lot more leeway to not make things look.
You don't have to go for realistic,
yeah. Sure. And it gives us like the creative freedom to kind of go more abstract and crazy with stuff. So it's like, you know, like we're not working on a game like
you're not doing like Call of Duty or something like that where it's
It's like we don't have to hit that realistic fidelity. We can kind of go. We can have our artistic freedom to kind of go a little nuts with it.
Sure, that's got to be cool.
Yeah.
Well, I've asked all the things I need to ask. I still don't know what you do, but it's cool, whatever it is. I make fire and flame swords. That's all I do. It's good.
I blow stuff up. That's just what I tell people to blow stuff up.
Ruby has a question, obviously.
Yeah. I had a question, and Elbrin actually had a question that was related. Do you do any sort of coding with your visual effects by chance?
I do not. We have tech artists that do that. Like we have dedicated like tech effects artists basically, and they will do like they do all the coding for us. Like I can't code for my life. I can read code sometimes. Like if I'm having a really good day and the code's really easy, I can probably look at it and go, I kind of know what that means. But I can't code. So.
And then Albern's question was if you would consider a tech artist position in the future as a future career path.
Myself, most probably not. Just because like my coding skills are terrible.
No.
Like when I was in college, like I got a C in coding, so it was like just enough to pass the class, but nothing that's gonna raise any eyebrows or be impressive. Like if I did want to go into it like a tech art position, it would take a lot of effort for me.
Hey. Worth asking. But you work with them though, right?
What's that?
But you work with them.
Oh yeah.
Intimately?
Really
like,
what'd you say?
intimately, like one-on-one often you rely on you.
Not necessarily like one-on-one, but it's we do hang out with them. So they're not like just like our tech artists aren't just like another group of people that are like way down the hall. It's like we do hang out, we do talk. Like we are in constant contact with them, so they're not strangers. But I mean, we are like a separate entity.
Interesting, because so technical artist is also a very broad term, and it changes depending on what studio you ask.
Yeah.
So in your studio, you would say that they just code, or do they also do art?
They make a lot of the tools that we use, like that the effects artists use, and they also do some environment. I think like some of them work on environment stuff. Like we have one girl, Caitlin. She did a lot of the destruction in Borderlands. Like, so if you like shoot a bottle and it blows up, or if you shoot a wall, it's like crumbling apart. So it's like that was a lot of tech art right there.
Okay.
And, I think like some of the stuff for like the menu or the world stuff. Like when you're trying to pick destinations and things like that. I think a lot of that was tech art as well.
Interesting. You mentioned that they also create tools for you. Tools like actual software for you to use that's like in-house and unique to your
scripts for like 3ds Max to we have a model, let's import it into the game, and it'll like give us a bunch of extra stuff.
Okay, so like unique plugins and scripts and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so neat. That's really neat. Thank you.
Yeah, but I think like you're saying earlier, like the tech art, like the VFX tech art, like / tech art does get interchanged, like depending on like certain studios. Like sometimes if you go to a smaller studio, you might be like the VFX / tech art person. So like, you just might be like encompass the whole role.
Yeah, it's a pretty broad term still, but
yeah,
I've seen tool creation often as a description as one of the responsibilities.
Yeah,
I've always wondered about that.
Yeah, I think as far as like with tech art is concerned, it's not so much. You're not really so much like creating like assets, like game assets.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, there's always one question that we try and ask every time. And it's usually it catches people off guard, and it usually doesn't have to do with the conversation we're having right now. It's totally off the cuff, but during your research process, a lot of people learn a lot of fun facts about different things. Can you share a story or a fun fact that you learned during, one of your times like researching for a project, or just a fun fact in general that you learned that's kind of stuck with you?
Learned. Oh man. I will say the one thing I researched heavily during for Borderlands 3 was the gore, because I was tasked with making kind of like making the gore system, and it was like we wanted to go back to like the Borderlands 1 level of gore, with like blood and guts and all that, and like the kind of like the direction from our art director was fun but not gross just to be gross. So I took that as like, okay, let's go over the top and just goofy gore. So I watched Ash vs. Evil Dead, like the whole series, because that gore was just like over the top and goofy. So that was like my guilty pleasure. Like, all right, I'm just going to watch this. It's going to inspire me to make all the blood and guts and things like that. And like we had another guy who was modeling the actual like giblets and kidneys and brains and stuff like So like he would give me the assets and I would put them into the effects, and it's and one of the funny things about what I did is like I don't know if I kind of did this by accident and then like left it in there, but some of the times if you like shoot like if you blow up one of the characters, like 4 eyeballs might fly out of like one person, or like 2 brains might fly out. Yeah, I kind of like it was at first we were like, should we leave it in? Like our effects lead is like, yeah, leave it. It's funny. It's like, all right.
See, I was gonna say that too. Do you guys like? You can tell me. We can do it here and now. You put any Easter eggs in the game? Is there something that we need to look for?
I did. I did. I put one personally in.
Yeah, that's my man right there.
Yeah, but there is a bunch of like there's a bunch of Easter eggs that like even some of them that I forgot about. Like I was told and I just forgot. But I personally I did put one in Zane, but it's going to be super hard to find. I can tell you what it is.
Don't incriminate yourself now. You can get yourself in trouble. We don't want that.
Yeah, no, but it's like super hard to find unless you know what to look for.
Well, now people are going to be looking a little bit more.
We could tell when Ash had a bad day at work and he put something bad in the character.
Great,
nice.
No, Borderlands is a franchise that like you could tell everybody had so much fun working on it, and there are so many different like elements and like just fun things thrown in. Even like all of us right here, we're fans of the Destiny, Destiny franchise and this and that. There's even an Easter egg and a couple missions, like side missions involving like centered around Destiny, which is kind of cool.
Borderlands, yeah.
In Borderlands 3, like you go and find the ghost and, you find the ship, and there's actual like reset up areas that you find during one mission that actually set up the very first mission in Destiny again. It's just kind of like little nods to the other franchises, but it's just kind of cool. It's Borderlands 3 or Borderlands as a franchise, you just cannot deny is a fun game.
Yeah. Borderlands has a great community too. Like their community is amazing.
Oh yeah, and I think like it's like game wise, I think that goes back like to what I said earlier about just the freedom we have just to like create, and I don't think Borderlands would be Borderlands if we had some guy in a suit dictating how we make our art, because it would just be boring. We wouldn't be having any fun. And so I think just because we have so much like autonomy and freedom to just kind of create fun stuff, and you can tell that fun gets transferred into the game, which gets transferred into the player.
Yeah, absolutely right. Otherwise it'd be called Boring Lands. Oh, did I?
Oh,
yeah,
man.
There it is. No. Oh, no. Well, it's getting kind of late. I think we're all set to wrap up. Does anybody have any final questions they want to ask before we start wrapping up?
I think I asked enough.
If you got another one swimming around.
No, dude, I'm good. I'm good. I'm going to be able to sleep so good tonight knowing all the things I know now.
I hope I was able to answer
I love it because, like I said, me personally, I appreciate what you do. I'm a huge fan of the franchise. I have been forever. I played Battleborn. I played all the Borderlands. I've always been a fan of it, and awesome. I appreciate what you do. Just know that.
Thank you.
And next time I'm playing and I see something blow up and I see 4 eyes, I'll remember. I'm gonna
think of Ash.
Oh, Ash, that man, he put 4 eyes in the game.
Oh, I saw the 2 brains.
That's the Easter egg. That's one of the Easter eggs. Like that guy had 4 eyes.
You're going to have to message him and let him know, too. Put a smile on his face that night.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
The audience, one last question, by the way. And it might actually tie into one of Joe's last questions, which is if you have any advice for people starting out. Albert was asking, as someone who's very technical and artist, who is very technical and artist, would a VFX artist be a good place to start at a place like Gearbox, or could I go right into tech art?
Well, if you're both technical and an artist, I would say think about what you would enjoy doing more. Like, because as an artist, like as an actual VFX artist, you're not doing much technical stuff. Like you're not doing a lot of coding. It's a lot of art. I mean, you're basically making art. But as a technical artist, you're going to be doing mostly coding. It's not a lot of creativity. At least with Gearbox is concerned, you're not doing you're not making game assets. Essentially, you're doing the technical stuff. You're making things just work. I guess I would put it. Yeah. So I mean, going in, it really just depends on what you would enjoy doing more. I guess. That makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Like, I guess, like, if you want to create, if you want to be more creative, go into the VFX world. If you want to be more like code based and like create plugins, things like that, then you can I would lean more towards the technical side.
Which falls into what do you enjoy doing more?
Yeah. Right.
Do what you think is fun, because you're going to be doing it for a long time.
Yeah,
so
right.
You're going to want to enjoy what you do,
Really good.
Passionate.
You got any more advice for newbies, people who want to enter the industry?
Yeah, I would say do if you want to get into it, like effects, especially for gaming, learn as much as you can. Like, don't learn everything, but don't try to. I would say don't try to master everything, but be familiar with a lot, because that's one of the good things about effects is there's always more than one way to create an effect. Like, you can if you know how to, if you're great at drawing. Like, we have one guy who he's not he's one of our effects artists, but he's not like a software guy. Like, he doesn't go in and like make simulations. He doesn't really make like assets in the typical way that we do. Like, he draws everything. All this stuff is hand drawn. Like, he's the guy that did all like the pixel art. Sung Kim, he did all of the pixel art in Borderlands 3. So he's like an amazing artist. I mean, the dude worked at Disney for like 10-something years. And so he'll come in and like he's an effects artist, but all he does is like he draws everything. So it's all about like learning and just kind of being familiar with as much as you can. I would say definitely learn a game engine. If Unity, if you want to learn Unity, you want to learn Unreal, learn a game engine. Just be familiar with making games. Learn at least one 3D package, Maya Blender, 3ds Max. Be familiar with one of those. Simulation packages are also very popular, like Houdini, Fume Effects. Learn that stuff, or like at least be familiar with those pieces of software. Photoshop, definitely be familiar with that. Substance Designer is another one. It's just be familiar with the software, and also if you're trying to find a job at a company, research the company, know what they do, know what software they use. Like, you don't want to go and try to apply at a company that's using only Maya and you're a Max user. Get as many tutorials as you can. Like, there's a lot of free tutorials and videos on YouTube. SideEffects.com has all the Houdini tutorials, that you could want. Buy some tutorials if you have to. There's always a way to learn something. There's resources all over the place. So it's really just about how dedicated you are to learning and being a master of your craft, I would say.
Bam. Joe's clicking on things.
Thank you. That was very elaborate and actually very useful and good to know.
Definitely, man.
I'll be teaching myself some things here and there.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna take a while, and don't get frustrated.
It's gonna take time. A lot of time.
Yeah.
Why does everybody think I break everything?
Because you do break everything.
True. It's true.
Con, you just missed a hell of a conversation, man. You should have been here for this whole thing. This was super informative.
It was awesome.
It was. Thank you very much for letting us into your little world, because dude, that it's like I said, it's something that is so underappreciated, but it's so valuable too. I mean, like I said, anything that has to do with outside of the normal of what gamers actually just do, where it's like all we care about is the PvP, we care about the sandbox, what weapon damage, and how this whatever drops, whatever. Most people don't appreciate what's going on around them. They don't care about the effects. They don't care about the environment. They don't care about just everything that goes into all of it. So to actually sit down with somebody and explain their craft and everything, it's
huge.
It's amazing.
No, and it's fun too, because like if you ever play a game and like you see bad effects, like it stands out.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Most definitely.
Awesome. Well, we're going to wrap up real quick. Really, Ash, where can people find you, and where can people find more of your work?
Well, you
besides
can
in the game.
Well, you can always find me on YouTube, or not YouTube, Twitter. I guess you have my tag out there, FX Blackout. So I'm always on Twitter. I don't really post much game stuff on Twitter, mostly just pictures of my kids. So so if you want to follow me, be prepared for just pictures of my kids. So like Twitter, I have an art station. I think it's like Ash Lyons for art station. And that's mainly it. Just art station and Twitter. I don't post much art station though, because a lot of it's kind of the drawback of working in AAA development. It's like a lot of your work's under NDA, so you can only really post it like once every 5 years.
Oh, sure.
But sometimes every once in a while I'll have some personal stuff up there.
Well, we're about to be friends on Twitter, just so you know.
Dang.
Yep. And I actually posted both those links right in the chat right there for everybody. If you want to follow Ash, go right ahead. Dude, it's been so much fun. It's been a blast chatting with you over the last couple of weeks, and I look forward to you. I'm going to annoy the heck out of you over. No, I'm not going to annoy you, but no, you're welcome anytime. But we're going to have to play some games together.
All right. Yeah. I'll try to get on. I'll try to get on more. Like I said, I'm usually midnight. Like once the kids are asleep, it's like, all right, freedom.
I can actually play.
That's my downtime. It seemed to be the consensus tonight was like, hey, I'm getting on. I'm just laying down the little ones right now. Yep. It's like, me
everyone
too.
knows
me
not
three,
to bother with
4.
me until about 8-9 o'clock Central. They know that I'm putting the kid to bed, and I can't game, stream, do anything until then.
Yeah, it's real hard for me as well. Between 9 Eastern, forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I come to life. I'm a night owl, man. Like I get up stupid early in the morning.
Let's say we stay up too late, get up too early for work.
Oh yeah,
I know how that goes.
I live on Red Bull.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not healthy.
I know.
But it's how we get through. No. Thank you so much for coming on. Jay, thank you so much for coming on and guest hosting with us.
Thank you for letting me sit and ramble on ridiculous questions too, I guess.
It's been so awesome having you on for that. I mean, it literally couldn't have asked for a better guest host tonight. I mean, really.
Anytime you guys want me around, I'll be around. Just give me a message. You know where to find me.
In the Twitters and Discords.
Yep. SaltyCatPlays everywhere. That's my shameless plug. SaltyCatPlays is where you can find me.
Oh, you updated his thing.
I did update it.
I am no longer SaltyCat GFX because, for one, I felt dumb coming on with an actual VFX artist and being like, "Oh, GFX, cool." No, because I want to do more gaming. I want to do more than just do art for people, because I'm sick of dealing with 12-year-olds that just want Fortnite banners. So I want a game. But
there you go.
Yep, SaltyCatPlays. That's where you can find me.
That's everywhere. Ruby, where can people find you?
Same handle as my Twitch. That's PxlatedTraveler. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, I think.
Is Facebook a thing still?
It exists. It's there.
Young Con Fortnite banners.
I know everybody wants Fortnite banners, and you know what? Like I just said it recently that that I had a kid ask me for a Fortnite banner, but then said he didn't want to pay because it was for his Twitter, and Twitter's a free app. So I really had to question like where I wanted to go with my career with with game art. I guess I might come and hang out with you over at Gearbox, Ash, because I'm getting tired of these Fortnite kids.
Nice.
That's cool.
$250.
$250.
But there you go. $250 for a Fortnite banner. Damn right, Con.
Wholesome real number.
Yep. To start, that starts at $250.
I'm telling you, Ash, you start following Young Con on Twitter and you start seeing, dude, he will inspire you and he will entertain you and just blow your mind. I mean, he's like one of the most humble people in the world, but just awesome.
Inspiration is an understatement.
Yeah. And he's like just awesome all around. Like he even does his little warm up like exercises that like is like lifting half a freaking Volkswagen. Yeah. It's pretty awesome. But no, thank you everybody for tuning in with us tonight. Thank you, Ash, so much for coming on.
Thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome anytime. If you have any free time, dude, you can crash any of the podcasts anytime.
Come on, we gotta talk about the kids.
We might make an episode out of it.
That could be a whole episode. Is how we managed to do anything.
Yeah.
The how we managed to do anything episode. I love it.
At least our kids go to bed early. Mine won't. She won't go to bed until I go to bed. And
mine only did tonight because she took a nap. Or she didn't take
Ash
a nap.
is still under his desk.
Yeah,
my kids still watching.
He's looking down at him. Like, go to bed.
Yeah, I could at least get stuff done if she hung out under my desk, but she wants me to follow her and wants me to get her things, and she wants to play Kirby and Yoshi, and I have to play with her.
If my kid was awake right now, she'd be sitting on my desk, looking in the camera, messing with my keyboard. That's all she'd be doing. Looking at herself on the monitor, being like, "Oh my god, I'm on TV! Look at this."
No. The last time I tried streaming art,
this is great.
It turned into a toddler gaming stream.
Yeah, it usually does. It's all about them. Always will be.
Yeah.
Just the way.
See, what I usually do is I give her the headset, and then I turn on her YouTube. Like she's got a kid's YouTube channel, and I'll just take one of the screens on this screen tree and just push it flat out. That way it's facing her. I have a chair over here just on standby for when.
Sorry, Ash. I was really hoping he was going to pop you in the back of the head with one of them Nerf guns. I was waiting. I was like, "Ooh, what's coming?" Oh, no, okay,
he's done it before. No, I'm glad.
This is all episode content.
Yep.
Oh yeah, it's all staying in.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Best episode ever.
Totally. All right, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night.
Take care.
All right, good night.
This is the end.